Welcome back with Happy Chappy. So this is Ra and what is Ra and how it relates to the Irish. So in the Irish, it's seen as it's from a song that represents the Irish Republican Army, being Ra, Republican Army. But where else do we see Ra with power? As an army is a force of power, which was seen as the force of Ireland until the British Empire took over. And if we go back far enough to the Egyptian times, we have Ra, ancient god, god of all gods, who supposedly created the pyramids. Nothing to say anything different. And so what you find is in them times, the Greeks and the Egyptians would battle in the time of Alexander, who took over the Egyptians. Now, this gave power to the Greeks. Now think of the British taking power over its colonies, like Ireland. And some seeing it as the North and South as a separation. But if you remember, in the times of agreement with Michael Collins, he was set up for an agreement for the North to become British, but the South would be under British laws, an imperial system, which left mind over matter, taking your mind while controlling the body being matter. An illusion. While the British run all of Ireland. And remembering, in the agreement, the Irish Republican Army was agreeing with the British Empire. So you're seeing the Irish Republican Army becoming the government of the Republic of Army, or the Republic of Ireland. And so what you got was an army who had give up their fight for the people in return for power over the south of Ireland, to have power over the people as a government. And so they would entwine with the British Empire. And what you have in the British Empire and its colonies, they interlinked with Greece and the Greeks in World War II and brought the imperial system about, which was influenced into the Irish, giving the Irish Republican Army a sense of power. And as the British Empire would strategically change their position as an army force to a government. But yet you would have younger who didn't have that fight and toll placed on them through the battles, who would still fight in the Irish Republican Army. Not fighting for what they knew, but fighting for the stories that they had been told in the history. While all the time their leaders had set them up for failure all along, as they gave in to the British rule, the British people, the British colonies that were in force with the Greeks. Now, where did Ra come from? When you go back to the Greeks, they knew of, or the Egyptians, you had the god Ra. But the Greeks had a mythology that was very much related to the Irish in their ways and beliefs in the mythology side of things, which was mind over matter. In witchcraft. And so what you have with that is, if you look upon the Egyptians, you had the god Ra, who was magical and who used the mind to manipulate the forces around, which you could see as the Greeks had taken over this power and exchanged it with the Irish and English. And through the learning and the interlinking between each other, what you find is they come into coherence with each other as a power over the people. And so you get these forces like the Irish Republican Army, the British Empire, and the Greeks all creating their own armies as a manipulation. As where would you say Ra? Why would Ra been brought into the Republican as a Republican army? You start to see the pattern of energy being moved in the same form where it becomes that word Ra, God, power, being a force, an army, and linked with the Greeks who had taken over the forces of the Egyptians, and linked to the British who had taken over the forces of all its colonies, where they used the mind as it had once used the matter over matter and over mind. It had learned through its Greek ways to use mind over matter, using the force of mind, manipulation, to empower itself over these colonies. And so you had an imperial system set up which controlled everything and manipulated the people, giving these forces who were there for the people, fighting for the people, in a manipulation that they were actually fighting for the people, but in reality, it was a creation for power over the people, not to save the people, but to have power over the people. And whether you see that in the story that I'm telling or not, that is how things have worked out. When you've got a government or governments that's running a system that controls mind over matter, and everything that you do today is controlled by mind over matter. Every device, every operation system that is electronic that you pick up and look at and observe through a viewing of some sort of media, it is a manipulation of the mind over matter, controlling you, controlling me, controlling us all, from a place of power, from them who are above, in their agreements of the colonies, to establish a place of power to control the people into a way of being, rather than protecting the people, giving them freedom to be how they desire to be. freedom. And so you're trapped into a legal system of slavery, being manipulated by your own people who join forces with other colonies, other alliances like the British Empire, who is still running but falling to its grave. But remember, for future references, the pattern. And so when you see people coming together, trying to bring power to something, why? And is it for the people, or is it for precision, so they can control the people? This Happy Chappy, love and peace.